Hi guys, and welcome to Gensel Corner. Today I've got an outtake from a live stream I did a few days ago where I started the stream talking about some new discoveries in the realms of science. And I just thought you guys who don't necessarily want to sit through a stream that's already been and happened might be interested in some of the things that I talked about. So without further ado, here's the cutout portion. Has everyone seen the latest news? Secondary planet found around Proxima Centauri. It's a mega-Earth, so it's about 5 times the mass of the Earth, and orbits. Its orbit takes about 5 years around the planet, so it's a fair way out. But yeah, 2 planets around the nearest star to us, which is absolutely amazing, and it's a positive sort of thing because having a star system like that where there's a larger planet on the outer skirts that can be protecting the inner planet, because as we know, the closer planet, Proxima Centauri b to Proxima Centauri, is actually within the habitable zone of Proxima Centauri, even though it's probably tidally locked and the one side is always facing the star. It actually bodes well for other dynamics that are needed within a solar system to maybe have life. Now, it's unlikely you could have life on Proxima b that was intelligent, but life of some description may be possible, and it is conceivable that with this larger outer planet helping to protect it in much the same way as Jupiter does in our solar system, that there could have been enough time on Proxima Centauri b for life to have evolved. So that's an interesting bit of news. And being that it's so relatively close to us, considering it's 4.7 light years away, it's not inconceivable that through something like Project Starshot we couldn't get there to find out if there is actually life there. So yeah, it's interesting. Where would we be without Jupiter? It's an interesting question where we'd be without Jupiter, given that the early Jupiter actually moved in and out of from where it was orbiting. At least that's the current consensus. It is quite conceivable that Earth's orbit might not be quite as stable as it is, and may not have ended up in the habitable zone, which would not have been great for us. So yeah, because Jupiter very much pushed the different planets into the positions where they're in now. So it had such a dominating force, and it still is such a dominating force on the planets within our solar system, that pretty much without Jupiter acting as both a asteroid catcher and a planet mover, our solar system would probably be very different. We may have ended up with the larger planets actually migrating totally closely in, or perhaps the inner Rockies would have been even closer, like in some other star systems. So it is kind of interesting how our star system has, how our solar system has evolved over time, because it is at the moment unique amongst solar systems that we've observed out there. So yeah, it's kind of fascinating how much of an effect Jupiter has within our solar system. I mean, if Jupiter had been significantly larger, like some of the other large planets that have been in other solar systems, there's a chance that it may not have ended up where it is and would have migrated more fully in, which of course would have pushed all the inner planets out. So it's kind of fascinating. We also have the now I'm going to struggle to remember what it's called. The other, yep. There's an Earth-sized, the other Earth-sized exoplanet that was found recently is Tao 700d, which orbits the star's habitable zone. It is a slightly larger than Earth, but not a lot larger Earth, and it's only 31 parsecs from our planet. So it's, in the scheme of the galaxy, it's not very far away, and this is, you know, an Earth-like planet around a star that's slightly smaller than our sun. So It's not a star that's going to be a large flare star. So this is probably the closest thing that we have found so far to being Earth-like, in that it's that little bit further away from its star. There's not going to be lots of flares for it to worry about. And it's only marginally bigger than the Earth. So this is probably the most exciting find that we've had so far. And that was found by the by TESS, the Transiting Exoplanet Survey, so the satellite TESS. And yeah, it's quite amazing that this planet's been found. And I mean, if you really think about it, we say we've been looking for these planets quite a long time now. I think the first one was found in 91. That was the small planet, the Jupiter-sized planet around the pulsar. And so we're talking about, in less than 30 years, we found all these different planets. And in only 30 years, we found one that seems to be very Earth-like. Well, at least in relation to its position, the size of it, and the type of star it's around. So that's not very long in the scheme of things. It feels like a long time for us because it's a third of someone's life. But in the scheme of science, in the scheme of the evolution of humanity, it's nothing. And we are only getting better at discovering these planets. So what's TESS going to discover in the next 5 to 10 years? What's going to be discovered when the next generation of space telescopes get up there? Yeah, it's quite exciting. Any estimate on the age of those planets? I'm not exactly sure how old the star is that TO is around. It's slightly smaller than our sun, I think it gives off a similar amount of radiation, so that would probably suggest that it's a little bit younger, given that normally a slightly smaller star will give off slightly less radiation, but of course when they're younger they give off... No, hang on, I'm back to front here. It would suggest that the star is slightly older, because as stars get older they give off more radiation. So, but I doubt as much in it. It's probably a similar age, when I say similar age, probably within about 500 million years. But I mean, even that's irrelevant. Evolution itself has run down the path of many different types of species many times on our world, and then mass extinction, and then everything re-evolves, and well, not re-evolves, but we evolve a new set of different animals, etc. So we can have life evolve quite quickly on a world once the world gets past its initial cooling down and getting to the point where we get liquid water, and then if you get the plants and everything to change the atmospheres, then you're only looking at, you can get a decent amount of variation in life in 100 million years, and then get something like us evolve in another 60 to 70 million years. So in less than 200 million years, if evolution takes the right paths, you could get to an intelligent life form. So even in a younger star, I mean, you're still going to be looking at something that needs to be several billion years old for the planet to cool down enough and everything. But as long as it's been there for several billion years, so you get to the point where the planet's at the right point, then you've actually got a good chance, if it's in the right location, around the right sort of star, that life could evolve. We don't necessarily know all the parameters that are required to have life evolve, but given how tenacious life is on our own world, the chance that it will evolve somewhere else seems pretty certain. It just depends on the type of life we're talking about. Intelligent life is a lot harder. Evolution doesn't strive for it. So do we get intelligent life? Well, there's never going to be any guarantee of that. Yeah, 500 million years is the amount of time life's pretty much been on our planet. So, anything further than microbes. As to when the first microbes and eukaryotes and stuff like that evolved, it's a bit questionable because they don't necessarily fossilize well. But as far as higher life forms, we're not looking any more than 500 million years of the 4.5 billion years that the Earth's been here. And some of that has got to do with how long it takes the planet to cool down and how long it takes to settle out, and how long it takes for things the atmosphere and everything to come good. And Earth had a pretty violent early life. I mean, when you look at the impact of Theia to create the Moon Earth system and various other things, so it took a long time for Earth to cool down enough that we could get liquid water and we could have the start of life. Of course, if we're going to say that liquid water is not a requirement, and we can look at things like silicon-based life forms, perhaps, which maybe can survive in liquid methane. Not that I'm saying that's the case, but it's conceivable. Although a lot less likely, because silicon doesn't create as many different chained molecules that are as useful. Then all bets are off as to where life can be. Now, the other thing that was really interesting in the news that I wanted to do chat about was the fast gamma ray burst that came out of a galaxy that is 500 million light years away. So when life first started taking a good solid hold on our world, this gamma ray burst left this galaxy. And yet we still look at this as a nearby galaxy in celestial terms. In galactic terms, it is not that far away, 500 million light years. Considering that our universe is about 92 billion light years across now, that our observable universe, not the actual universe, we have no idea how big the actual universe is, and possibly it's infinite. Yeah, this thing comes from this way. Now, the interesting thing about this fast gamma ray burst is it's a repeating one, so it keeps happening at a regular interval. So it almost seems like it's from something intelligent, but there have been these signals before that have come from locations within galaxies. But the interesting thing about this particular one is that all the scientific reasons that they've had for why these things can be repeating don't appear to apply to this particular gamma ray burst. It just doesn't make any sense. Where it is in the galaxy, what they have an idea of is that is in that area should mean that there is nothing there that can create this gamma ray burst, which is what is, and it is repeating. So there is something there creating a repeating, very, very powerful radio signal that shouldn't be there. Which I mean, of course, a lot of people are saying aliens. I mean, it probably isn't. Most things that we discover are probably not aliens. There probably is a natural reason for it. But it is the first one of its type we found. The other repeating ones we found, we know they've been around certain types of pulsars or black holes or whatever, and they're obviously spinning and creating these bursts as they. So in a similar fashion to how most other pulsar type signals are, it's just they're very intense because of the atmosphere that the part of the galaxy that these things are happening in, and the ones that don't repeat are generally because of either black hole collisions or star collisions or something like that. Like you might have two pulsars that collide somewhere and it happens, and then that throws out a whole heap of energy, and we see that as a fast gamma ray burst. This one repeats. I think it repeats every 7 days, and that's an incredibly fast repeat. And there is nothing in that part of the galaxy that we can detect. I mean, it is a bloody long way away, so, but generally speaking, something that's going to be strong enough to make those sort of signals we will detect. We have ways of seeing the gravitational effect of these things, but we don't. At the moment, scientists have no idea what's causing this one. It is a complete mystery. We have no idea about it, which is what makes it absolutely fascinating as far as I'm concerned. It's having something new in science that we can't explain is, and I'm sure Lizzie would agree with me if she's still in the chat, is absolutely brilliant. The thing that where the religious types think it's a curse to us in science if there's something we can't explain, it isn't. It's brilliant. It gives us something to work towards to try and figure it out. And something new like this, it just extends our understanding of the universe. So in this sense, I'm really excited by it. I think it's absolutely fascinating. And even though I'm not a qualified scientist, I'm a layperson in all this, I am hoping that something absolutely stunning will be discovered out of this, and not necessarily about little green men, although that would be awesome if we discovered it was some alien civilization sending out signals. But I'm even more excited about it if it's something natural, because what are these beacons, these natural beacons that are in the universe? That is something incredibly exciting. If it's a little green alien, it was sent 500 million years ago. There is not a chance in hell we could communicate back to these people. Well, these aliens. So that is actually more disappointing in a sense than if it's something natural, which is something unique that we found within the universe. I mean, life would be unique too, but if we get signals from little green men, I'd rather they were from somewhere that's in a couple of hundred light years than it's halfway across our galactic cluster. Anyway, guys, thank you for watching. That's some of the science stuff that has excited me over the last week. If you like this video, please like and subscribe. Click the little bell if you want to know when I'm making new content. And please leave a message down below, especially if I got something wrong, because I like to be corrected if I'm actually wrong. And please remember, don't choke on the selfie stick.